was a huge weekend in sports, meaning it's going to be a huge Monday on Last Call. That's what we are here for. Caden Colford alongside Jake Helton, and we get things off. It was a special baseball game on Friday where we were exposed to Dawson Gabe's story, this community rallying around him alongside this entire baseball team, the entire athletic program, all of it, all of us here at UINDY rallying around one of our own. So we're backing the pack. Addison Mosley was there at Greyhound Park to get the news.
We are gathered here at Bill Bright Stadium at the University of Indianapolis for the K Out for Cancer. This initiative supports senior Dawson Gabe, who was recently diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Man, I can't put into words, how to describe him. He's one of the nicest, most genuine human beings I've ever met in my entire life. Not only that, he's a great pitcher. He's been a success on the field. He's a success in the classroom. He's a team leader. You just cannot say enough about this kid. He's just a fantastic human being.
I mean, Dawson's one of the best around. He's a one of one. Dawson is one of the most nice and well-spoken individuals on our team. All he wants to do is help and bring up other guys around him.
Ever since his situation has come upon us, it's been bigger than baseball. It's been bigger what's between the lines out here, and we're playing for him. And obviously, we want to get to Cary and go back to the World Series, but we're playing for him and we're playing for Tenon.
So Dawson has been dealing with this since back in the fall. Everything looked good, and subsequent screenings were clear, and then just kind of out of nowhere, right before our season started in February, routine checkup, and it came back. And so unfortunately that's why we're here today. He's fighting for his life, and we're behind him. We just want to support him however we can.
Not only are we supporting the players on the field, but we're also here to support one of our players, Dawson Gabe, senior pitcher, who has had his season come to an end because of his battle with cancer.
You never want anything like this to happen to somebody. When it does, it tends to bring people together, and I think that's why we're here today, to show support for him and do whatever we can.
I'm feeling really good. It's been a challenge, these last couple of weeks, but I feel better every single day. And I'm just happy to keep moving forward. My teammates are my best friends. I can really come to them with anything that I need, and they can come to anything that they need from me. So it's really just one of those things to where never really made me feel like I had cancer. They always made me feel like a normal guy. So just having a bunch of cool guys around me that made me feel normal, it helped me keep my head on straight. Yeah, I just want to keep covering right now. My plans, I plan to graduate soon, so I want to thank you. I want to get a job soon and just keep moving forward with my life and keep building on my friendships.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a beautiful day watching everyone come out to support Dawson. We hope he makes a full recovery. I'm Addison Mosley reporting for UINDY TV.
The GoFundMe is called Dawson's Journey, and you still have the ability to donate to the cause for Dawson and his family. As of right now, that GoFundMe amassing nearly $19,000. Talking about Greyhounds, supporting Greyhounds. It doesn't get better than that, Jake.
No, I mean, that's a great thing to hear. And then on top of that, the baseball team getting a sweep this weekend, as we just heard from our sports info guy, Dylan Euler, behind the camera. A very big weekend for UINDY baseball, and obviously you want to cap that off with a couple of wins.
Huge at that. And outside of just the University of Indianapolis, you and I both watched the Masters. We both watched Rory McIlroy somehow pull it out. At first it was him and Bryson DeChambeau. Those were the two that everyone were looking out for. And here comes Justin Rose out of the woodworks, finds his way to, at one point, even tie the lead. Rory McIlroy had it all on his own towards that final 3 holes to get it done. What'd you see out of him?
Well, I saw Rory had a great couple of days. He played very well on the green as well as off the green, getting to the green, so forth. But he had one bad day. The first day, he notoriously plays bad on Thursday. He was up 6, or I guess down 6, whatever you want to say. But he ended up blowing that lead heading into day number 2. He shot a 72 day number 1. Was even par, worked his way all the way to win this one. Justin Rose, though, people forgot how good he was doing the first 2 days because he did have that bad Saturday. He came right back in, played exactly how he had been playing. I wasn't necessarily surprised. I think a lot of people forget he's an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, Justin Rose, an absolute lad. And then on top of that, Scotty Scheffler. People were counting him out day 1, day 2. How about days 3 and 4? He comes back, ends up putting up 8 under to get to 4th place.
And with the green jacket being bestowed, so was some UFC gold. I think the UFC's better with Alexander Volkanovski toting that undisputed belt across his waist, holding it up in the air. What did you think of UFC 314?
You should have seen the smile on my face when I heard that music, the Land Down Under. Got to be the best walkout song ever. I mean, my serotonin levels were straight through the roof. Diego Lopez, honestly, probably becoming one of my favorite fighters at this point. I mean, his style.
He gave Volk a really good fight.
I mean, he is phenomenal. 26-7 right now. I would not be surprised to see him be the next UFC featherweight champion. Volk, he's planning to be an active champion, which I love, and that's probably my favorite part of Volk being the champion. He's going to fight 2-3 times a year. So to have him back, he's my favorite fighter of all time. I mean, you got him, you got John Jones. I love Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, some of the older guys. But right now, currently, Alexander Volkanovski is just the most entertaining fighter to watch.
So you have Volk, Paddy Pimblett whooped up on Michael Chandler, and Yair Rodriguez whooped Pitbull in the octagon to amass a great UFC 314. And all of this comes together as the Pacers get together to wrap up the NBA season and head into the playoffs. This might be the best time in sports right now, and we get to cover it all right here on Last Call. Pacers up next.
Good morning, Greyhounds.
Your weekly dose of Greyhound entertainment.
I think if you watch our team, they have fun. You know, they have fun playing.
There's so much that you can do to get the most out of your experience.
Our alumni care deeply about the success of this university.
Come here. Watch Good Morning Greyhounds every Saturday at 9 a.m. Catch us on UINDY TV's YouTube channel and Xfinity channel 1096.
Back in Indianapolis for Pacers basketball. Well, they played the Cavs, then Magic, and then Cavs in their final 3 games. And after securing the 4th spot, they sat everybody, and they were waiting for the postseason to this point. Welcome in Caden, Colford, Jake Helton, and Freddie Hawthorne joining us across the studio here at UINDY. So I'll ask you to first thoughts after this season. Start with you, Jake.
I mean, it was an average season. I think we'll get into the grades in a little bit. This is an above-average season for the Pacers. You look back to last year, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. There were a lot of people that were high on the Pacers, thinking that they were going to make it back. After, I don't know, about a month into the season, we were sitting here, or not at this very desk, we were over there on the video wall at that point, but we were writing this team off. We were saying they were horrible, we didn't want to watch them, blah, blah, blah. Then December rolls around, January rolls around, they go on a couple 5-game win streaks, get over that 500 mark. They really never looked back. I mean, I was impressed with the second half of this season. I think what holds this Indiana team back is the beginning of the season. You had a bad start, and it's hard to come back from that, but they were able to do that, which I do think is something that you want to put in the notes.
Freddie?
I would say along the same thing. We have a team that has played totally different in the second half of the season. We're talking about a team who is now 4th in the East. They're 1 game removed from that number 3 spot when we talk about the New York Knicks. And they've played a great stretch of basketball when it comes to these last few games of the season. So we're looking at a totally different team here. I would think that our answers are probably totally different than they were a couple of months ago about this basketball team when you look at what Tyrese Halliburton has done and what the guys who have supported him have done along with that. So, yeah, totally different team, great basketball being played right now, and I'm excited to see what they do in this first round.
And as we look at this team overall, you mentioned the slow start to begin the season. We have to remember that coming into 2025, through the first month of January, they had the best record in the NBA. Had the best record in the NBA, playing some of the best basketball the league has seen at this point. And that's why when I think of the letter scale, when I think of the grading scale, when we talk about these Pacers, my answer, right about a B+. I'm at right about a B+ because this wasn't exactly the easiest season for the Pacers either. You remember Isaiah Jackson dealing with that ruptured Achilles, had some more injuries in the backup center, puts a lot of pressure on Miles Turner, but you also bring in Thomas Bryant, who's played some very valuable minutes for the Pacers as of late, and, well, the Pacers responded to adversity. We look at them throughout this year. They ended up getting it done when it mattered most. It wasn't always the prettiest, but this team was a team that had a lot of fun, a little streaky at times, right? But when they're playing Indiana Pacers basketball, even against the best teams, matchups mean a lot, and the Pacers have had the upper hand in a lot of those. Jake, what do you think?
We were kind of on the same page, just a little bit below that. I'm going with B, just a straight B. Looking back to the beginning of the season, that's really what holds me back grading this team any higher. Like you said, midway through December, they were 10-15. Teams were not looking at the Pacers as a threat. It was just another team in the East. I think they were sitting outside the playoff picture, obviously early, but then you look at that month of January, like you mentioned, and that's a big month that I would like to talk about because they went 10-2. They were below 500. They ended up getting above 500, and as I mentioned, never looked back. A couple other things, 3-1 versus the Cavs this year. Yes, you could argue that 2 of those games were at the end of the season playing against the Scrubs, but 3 wins is 3 wins against the second best team, or the best team in the East, I guess you could say. And then versus the other 2 in that top 3, 6-4 versus the Cavs, Celtics, and Knicks, which is a good record, positive record compared to the Bucks. We'll get to that in a minute, but they're 0-10 versus the top 3. So that's a good sign for the Pacers. That's something that I love to see. You look at the averages, Pascal Siakam, leading scorer, leading rebounder, Halliburton's the leader in assists, right under 10. The team is putting up the stats that you want to see. It's just, can it translate? Can they stop Giannis? And that's my question for you, Freddie. I'll take it to you real quick. Is Giannis going to beat the Pacers by himself? Can he beat the Pacers by himself?
You know, I think we're seeing a totally different player in Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think when he won the championship back in, I believe it was that 2019, he was completely unstoppable. I mean, there was nothing you could do with him, and he was by himself, still contributing to the team. But I don't think he's that same player. I think that the Pacers, if they want to let him go out there and drop 25 points, I think they'll still win this game. The Pacers are a very, very good team when they play together as a team. When Tyrese Halliburton goes out there and distributes the ball along with his 20 points and Pascal Siakam scores at will, they're a way better team. Damian Lillard is not a factor in this series. We don't know if he's going to play. So when you look at that, it's just Giannis against this Pacers team who's a 5-man team. All those guys can go out there and play. So I see the Indiana Pacers moving on and facing a bigger challenge.
Well, we look at the first game between the Pacers and Milwaukee. That was in November, very, very early on. And Giannis had 37. That was in Milwaukee, remember. So I feel like there's not an answer that you're going to have for Giannis. And I feel like the last thing you want to do is open up their offense and allow their shooters to get going, right? I feel like you have to play them straight up, play them one-on-one. If Giannis drops 50, you know what? That's just the way it's going to go. That's just the way it's going to go. And this guy, he has the ability to do that. And not only is he great on the interior, he's a great defender, and he's going to make the Pacers work. What's your insight on Giannis in this series?
Well, first off, I want to say the Bucks did beat the Pacers 3-1, or 3 out of the 4. Giannis averaged 30 points, 12 rebounds, just under 10 assists, so basically a triple-double. And to what you said a couple episodes ago, I know you're a big Kyle Kuzma guy.
I am a big Kyle Kuzma guy.
Yeah, I think that's the difference maker for me in this series. If Kyle Kuzma can go out and drop 20 points a game, then you're talking about a legit Bucks team. But you're talking about a team that is missing arguably their second best player in Damian Lillard. I mean, he's an automatic 20 points per game when you put him on the court. My thing is, though, do the Bucks improve with Damian Lillard not on the floor? Think about it this way. The Bucks, if they beat the Pacers, they're going to have to go take on the Cavaliers. What do the Cavaliers have? One of the best guards, 2 of the best guards in all of the NBA. Damian Lillard cannot play defense. It's no surprise when I say that. He's not playing solid defense. So when you got 1 through 5 that can create shots, create space like the Cavs can, that's where I see a big, big problem. But with the Pacers, I see a very similar problem because the defense has really stepped up this year. They're only allowing 115 points per game. I say that as an only compared to what they were doing last year. But I mean, this Pacers team has taken a step forward in the last 2-3 months, and I think that it is enough to beat the Bucks. I have them in Game 6. I have the Pacers taking this home in Game 6, 4-2. beating the Bucks.
You feel like that's fair, Freddie?
I think that's a fair point. I think I'll agree with Jake here. I think I have the Pacers 4-2, and I think I have the Pacers moving on to that second round.
You know, I think we both gave the Pacers a really good grade in the regular season. But we are playing Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Who we're going to forget was third in MVP voting this year, ahead of two guys that had two historic NBA seasons. So it's tough to just write this guy off like I feel like we are at this point. 6 games, while that is some level of difficulty, I might send it to 7. Just because I feel like Giannis has the ability that we've seen in Jimmy Butler and other guys to flip it on come playoff time. And when this guy gets in a zone, there's not anybody that's going to take him out of that zone. I am with you and agreeing that the role player is going to play a huge part of this entire series against the Pacers. Kyle Kuzma, one of those guys. Brook Lopez, if he has a good game, he gets going. You never know what could happen. And obviously, if Dame comes back, I want to turn that to you, Freddie. You kind of had a look on your face when Jake asked if the Bucks are a better team without Damian Lillard. If Dame is in the lineup, does that change things for the Pacers?
You know, and this is coming from me. I think that if Damian Lillard is healthy, the Pacers are in trouble. I think that I don't see anyone on that Pacers 5 who can stop Damian Lillard offensively. We talk about him not being a good defensive player, but I mean, if he goes out there and scores 35 points, doesn't really matter what type of defense he played. If Giannis goes out there and scores 30 as well, we're talking about 65, 70 points from the 2 best guys on the floor. So, I mean, when you add, you know, a clutch player like Damian Lillard out there on the floor, I don't think the Pacers have a chance at all. But with that being said, he's not on the floor right now, so this is a totally different conversation.
And we've talked about the key factors for Milwaukee. Who gets it done for Indiana in this series? Who needs to play well and who wins it for them?
Pascal Siakam averaged 24 points per game this year against the Bucks. That's something. He had to guard Giannis and then go score his 20, 25 points per game. So that's something I do want to keep an eye on, that matchup between him and Giannis. An interesting one. I think it definitely favors Giannis. I feel like Siakam's good on defense, but Giannis, he's just trying to get to the rim. If you can build the wall, so to speak, like the Miami Heat did the year that they won the championship, that's how they beat Giannis. They build a wall in the paint. That is the formula for beating him. Can the Pacers do that? I believe so. You guard him with you guard him with Pascal Siakam. You have Miles Turner, Obi Toppin down low to help play defense. They just converge on him, make someone else beat you, basically what I'm saying for the Pacers. Another thing that I do want to mention, last year, Game 6, I honestly forgot that Giannis did not play in this series last year. So when I was looking at the stats, I was reminded of that, and I was reminded of the role players for both sides. I want to take you to Game 6. Obi Toppin, TJ McConnell combined for 41 off the bench. The difference in that one. And that's going to be the difference in this series. That's going to be the difference in the entire finals for the Pacers. Can the bench players get that 40, 50 points off the bench to really push them above? Because when you look at those games when they're scoring 140 points, there's always someone down in the bottom of the box score that's got 20 points.
Freddie, who on the Pacers needs to play well?
I think this game lies within Miles Turner and Benedict Mathurin. I think that Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam, I think they're going to do what they have to do. I think they're going to go out there and play good basketball, but Miles Turner has to be there defensively. They have to force Giannis to shoot the ball. He's not a very good three-point shooter, but in the paint, he's automatic. So when you look at Miles Turner, he has to be able to block shots and give Giannis a tough look at the rim.
For me, I think it's all down to Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's the blood flow of this team. Everything that works offensively is orchestrated through Tyrese Halliburton. And with that, that's your pick and roll, your high pick and roll. That's your off-ball movement. That is getting Miles Turner into the game. That's getting Ben Mathurin into the game, getting Obi Toppin and guys like that into the game. It's all from Tyrese Halliburton, what he has to offer from that point guard standpoint. Can he guard? Not even a little bit. However, to be the Pacers and have as much success as you have offensively, none of that occurs without Tyrese Halliburton. So that's my guy in this series, and obviously that's the cookie-cutter answer, but I feel like that's a shape that the Pacers have to fit into.
I mean, one thing I do want to say, you mentioned the three-point shooting. I find it very interesting and surprising. The Bucks are the #1 three-point shooting team in the NBA right now, percentage-wise. They shoot just under 39%. They're 5th in field goal percentage. Something to mention, obviously, Giannis is getting most of his shots right at the basket. It's going to boost that percentage way up. But, I mean, that's good as a team. The only thing, though, that really scares me about this Bucks team is the coaching. I mean,
Really?
it is just not there.
Darvin Ham's not cutting it for you.
He is not cutting it for me. You look back to some of the close games this season, every single game that the Bucks lost against the top 3 team, not every game, there was 2 blowouts. Almost every game they played against the top 3 teams in the East were one-possession games or were one-possession games at one point in the fourth quarter, and the Bucks lost those games. And those are the ones you have to win to be able to take home a series, because there's going to be close games, especially when you're playing against the Pacers. I like the matchup, but I'm going to go Pacers in 6. I'm sticking with my answer. I think the Pacers, while they lack star power, they have the role players to kind of push that to where it needs to be, to the level it needs to be.
I can see that. And after everything, are you still 6 games, Freddie?
I'm still 6 games. So yeah, I mean, I think this series comes down to them just being able to limit Giannis with whatever he wants to do out there. I mean, they're not just going to be able to just completely shut him down and stop him. But I do believe that as long as they limit what he can do a little bit, they do have a really good chance in this series.
I'm still going to 7. I do think that Indiana wins all their games at home. I think it's very hard, especially for the playoffs in recent years, for teams to come to Indiana. Very, very underrated in terms of difficulty place to play. But let's take a look at the East, how it's set up right now. Cavs at first, second is Celtics, third Knicks, fourth are the Pacers. This is the playoff picture behind us right here. So if the Pacers were to make it out of this first round matchup with the Bucks, most likely you have the Cavs waiting on you right there. Not exactly a pristine position. What is your outlook on it?
I think going back to what Freddie and I talked about last week, as well as what we've mentioned over the season, the Pacers are good. The Pacers are having a great season. They're just not Eastern Conference Finals contenders this year. They have too tall of a task. I don't think they're better than the Celtics, and I don't think they're better than the Cavs. Either way it would have worked out, I don't think they're making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Against the Cavs, thinking 6 games again. I think they're going to give them a challenge, but I do think that kind of similar situation with the Indy, you're not going to win games in Cleveland, and that's how I feel. You look back to halfway through the year, the Cavs were almost undefeated at home.
Freddie, is impossible to get over the Cavs?
I don't think it's impossible. I am actually not a believer in the 1 seed for the Cavaliers. I do think they've played amazing basketball this year, but I don't see them being in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that what the Pacers did towards the end of this season, winning 7 out of the last 8 games, beating Cleveland twice, prior, and having a positive record against the Cavaliers all season, I think they do have a chance to take this to a 7-game series and potentially return back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Although the Cleveland Cavaliers, they do have an amazing backcourt, I just don't think they can get it done.
Well, Cavs this year, 34-7 at home. And with home court advantage, given the playoffs roll out how we think they will, and all of us are right in the Pacers will advance into the first round, and Cleveland dodges an upset from either Miami or Chicago, which I really don't see that going any other way. It's going to be tough. But to have to go back to Cleveland for a Game 7, I think that is nearly unwinnable. I got to say, and that's just the way I'm looking at it. Is that unfair to say?
No, I think that's completely a fair thing to say. This Cleveland team is very good, but to what Freddie said, that Celtics team is just looking too good. I mean, it's like you're looking at a cake next to a cupcake. I mean, that cake is just looking very, very good right now. The Boston Celtics, that's going to be my champion. I mean, I'll go ahead and give it to you now. A lot of people thought coming in they weren't going to two-peat, go back-to-back. I think I disagree. Jason Tatum, he's getting his finals MVP this year. We're going to see some more cheesy celebrations. It's going to be the Celtics hoisting the trophy.
Well, they'll have a first-round matchup with either the Magic or the Hawks, and then the Knicks and Detroit Pistons will duke it out on the other end of the bracket. So if I had to assume it'd be Knicks and Boston, that'll be a fun series to watch. I'm a big proponent of Knicks basketball, and I can see them taking it to 7. But Boston's been a Goliath for the past 2 years in the league now, and I think they've been the front runner since the opening tip-off of the season to be the champion. I won't give you my pick for all the marbles just yet, but I'm not knocking anybody that's taken Boston to run out of the East. Do you think Cleveland has any chance of knocking Boston off, Freddie?
No chance. I don't think the Cavaliers have any chance of stopping the Celtics. I mean, that's almost a whole starting 5 of just complete ballers. I mean, you got Jason Tatum, who is probably going to win the Finals MVP if he does win another championship. And I mean, Jaylen Brown. Who's going to stop Jaylen Brown? I mean, you have Jason Tatum who's going to have 35. Jaylen Brown can also have 35 points as well. So, I mean, the backcourt, Donovan Mitchell, he plays great basketball. Darius Garland, I mean, he plays, sometimes he plays good basketball. Sometimes, he's kind of missing some of the games. But, don't have him against Boston. I'm sorry.
You brought up something the other day, Kristaps Porzingis. He just had a very, very good stretch at the end of the season. Coming off of injury, didn't play as much this season as usual. But what is it in him that you see, Freddie?
I think it's just the fact that he's a 3-level scorer. I think Kristaps Porzingis can score anywhere. He has the shot, and in the paint, he's nearly unstoppable. And I just can't think of any big man in the Western Conference, the Eastern Conference, outside of Karl-Anthony Towns and, Karl-Anthony Towns. I can't really think of anyone else who can stop Kristaps Porzingis. I want to say Miles Turner, but I can't see Miles Turner.
We all want to say Miles Turner, right? We all want to, but we'll save it for next season, maybe. Who knows? Move now to the West, and the Thunder have all but had that one spot locked up all year. But look how it's laying out, guys. This has been the most competitive last week of NBA action that we've seen in a long, long time, and it shapes up for OKC to probably take round one. Nuggets and Clippers will be a great series, and as the rest of it files out, Timberwolves, Warriors, Grizzlies will all duke it out in the West as well. This probably a little tougher than the East to predict. Do you see a dark horse or a favorite team coming out of the West here, Jake?
I think the good thing about the West is that it was so close. You look at all those games decided by 1, 2. I think the Warriors lost their 6th spot on a last-second Draymond Green miss. So that's just an unfortunate one there. But 1 through 6, I think the thing about the West is there are some dark horses. There are some, I think the Clippers into the season on a very big win streak. They could easily take a run into the finals. The Golden State Warriors, I don't think they're there yet. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself. They're 0-3 in the play-in game, which is a big, I guess a task to jump over, just getting that 0 off of the board. So Golden State, that's a tough one for them, but they could easily win that 7 versus 2. And OKC, I think of the 2-1 seeds, they're a little bit stronger than the Cavaliers. I have a little bit more faith in them, I would say, to win, go to at least the Western Conference Finals, if not win a championship. They're going to be competing later in the month.
Well, that's the way the NBA is panning out to this point. Thank you, Freddie, for your insights. But now time to step in to the Primetime Pick Em. I was in Vegas last week. I'm not sure how the audio came through, but I'm hoping the picks came through is really what I'm hoping for. I'm needing a comeback here. But as we get started with the first matchup, the Hawks are going to travel to Orlando, not too far of a flight. In this game, I like the Magic. I like the Magic. We forget that they were right in the middle of the East. They were a 4-5 seed in last year's playoffs. And now with Paulo having some playoff experience under his belt alongside the rest of this young Magic team, I like him.
Yeah, you also got Franz on there. We got a chance to watch him this year when we went to Game Ridge Fieldhouse, and that's the only reason I picked him. I liked the way they looked in that one singular game, so I'm going to go ahead and pick them.
I don't blame you at all. Next game on the slate, the Grizz at the Warriors. We've been big Warriors fans as of late, Jake. Is that persisting here?
I think so. I mentioned it just a moment ago. They're 0-3 in play-in games, and I think that ends this year. Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, he's coming back. You haven't started to see the hype behind playoff Jimmy yet, so nobody's posting about it or anything, but give it a week. That's all you're going to see on Instagram. All you're going to see is playoff Jimmy. He's going to get him a dub over Ja Morant.
You know, speaking of Ja, he's getting back to his clips. I'm starting to see him more and more on my Instagram.
Is that a pun?
It might have been, back to my Instagram, back to my TikTok. And when Ja's in headlines for all the wrong reasons, he's a top 5 player in the league.
I mean,
you know what? When this guy starts feeling the cameras on him, the lights start to shine a little brighter, Ja Morant starts to play a whole lot better. So I think he goes into Dubtown and takes one out.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, next game, Miami Heat at the Chicago Bulls. I know we have a couple region rats back in the studio pulling for the Bulls in this game, but I like that boy Tyler Hero. To go win a play-in game, put the Heat in the playoffs for what's probably the 100,000th consecutive year for Miami. They always find a way in. That's why I'm going with them.
Yeah, I mean, when I was first looking at this, I was thinking, oh, yeah, the Bulls, Josh Giddey, Lonzo Ball. Who am I kidding? I mean, it's for real. It has to be the Miami Heat. I think they actually might win their next game, too. I think that's a very valid option. You think back to some of their best playoff years. Well, 2020, I guess. They weren't necessarily the team that everyone thought was going to make it to the championship, and I think that plays into their favor. You have some underestimating opponents. That's how you come in, like the Indiana Pacers, pull off a couple upsets.
You know, Bulls 39-43. They've won 3 straight, but I don't know if that persists here. Final game on the slate for the Primetime Pick Em. A hurt Mavericks team going to Sacramento, who's been all over the place this season. Jake, final game on the slate. What's your thoughts?
I think the Mavericks should send like a little small donation to any charities that Luka is a part of, because he completely gifted them this playoff position, play-in position, whatever you want to call it. They do not deserve this. This is probably the worst team that I've seen make a playoff in recent years. I think the Kings win this one. They just played a tight one against the Pacers. DeMar DeRozan had 30 points. I honestly forgot DeMar DeRozan was on the Kings until I watched that Pacers game, and I was pleasantly surprised by his performance. Saboner, he's got it. We are ready to go. The Kings are locking it in.
The Kings, I like them, and I think they have talent. I don't think that talent necessarily translates to winning basketball.
Really?
Is Klay Thompson going to drop 40? No, but I still do think the Mavericks are going to win. I still do think the Mavericks are going to pull one out. And hey, you don't win the pick 'em by picking the same teams.
That's fair. That's
you just
true.
don't.
You don't.
You know, I got to have a few to come out of the woodworks here.
What do we got? Oh man, I knew you did good last week. I knew you did. I was up 4 when we did them last week. I knew you got at least the last 2 right. Oh, okay. All right.
Just
Fair
soaking
enough.
in these last couple weeks.
Yep. Enjoy it. It's going to end in me holding that belt. Next time, whenever you see those pictures up there, it's going to be me holding my victory belt.
Some undisputed gold, huh? UFC over the weekend was great. The pick 'em.
I'm basically Volk. I mean, I'm going to give me a belt. We're going to wear it every episode.
We'll see. Last call every Monday, 6 p.m. UINDY TV and Xfinity Channel 1096.